Hello and welcome to the new season of In the Studio. I'm your host, Daryl Titre, and I'm privileged to have as my first guest on this new season of In the Studio, the Honorable Joseph Isaac, Speaker of the House of Assembly. Of course, Honorable Isaac was re-elected Speaker unopposed at the first meeting of the first session of the 11th Parliament, which took place on February 7 and 8, 2023. Let's have a closer look at what transpired at that meeting. The first meeting of the first session of the 11th Parliament has been completed, and from all reports and observations, it has been a fruitful and successful meeting. This was the first meeting of Parliament post the December 6, 2022 general elections, which saw the Dominica Labour Party winning 19 seats and independent candidates winning 2. The opening of Parliament saw the usual pomp and ceremony with the parade of uniformed troops to include the Commonwealth of Dominica Police Force, the Fire and Ambulance Service, and the Dominica Government Band. President of Dominica, His Excellency Charles Savran, took the official salute and inspected the troops before entering Parliament and delivering what is more than likely his final address to the Parliament as President of Dominica. President Savran congratulated all parliamentarians while advising new members to follow the rules of the House as outlined in the standing orders, in particular the rulings of the Speaker. Honorable Joseph Isaac was re-elected as Speaker unopposed, while Senator the Honorable Philip Rolle was also re-elected unopposed as Deputy Speaker. Members of Parliament took the oath or affirmation of allegiance. 15 of the 32 members of the House are entering Parliament for the first time. The Parliament of Dominica now consists of 11 women, while Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit is now the longest-serving member of the House. The new Parliament has approved supplementary estimates of expenditure for the fiscal year ending June 2022 in the amount of $235,717,376.20. A number of bills were also enacted aimed at bringing relief to the population, as outlined in the 2022-2023 National Budget. A bill to repeal the Highway Maintenance Levy Act was piloted by Minister for Public Works, Public Utilities and the Digital Economy, Honorable Fidel Grant, and received unanimous approval from the House. Other bills passed into law were the amendment to the Vehicle and Road Traffic Act, amendments to the International Maritime Act and the Civil Aviation Act, as well as amendments to the Value Added Tax Act and the Stamp Act and the Pensions Act. Parliament also approved a bill to amend the Title of Registration Act, piloted by Minister for National Security and Legal Affairs Honorable Rayburn Blackmore. This act allows for cheaper fees to be paid for the purchase of land and the transfer of titles. New Leader of the Opposition, Honorable Jesmer Paul Victor, assumes the chairmanship of the Public Accounts Committee, with the committee further comprising Honorable Philip Rolle, Honorable Austell Lockhart, and Honorable Delbert Paris. The Parliamentary Proceedings Broadcasting Committee comprises Honorable Fenella Wenham, Honorable Dr. Cassandra Williams, and Honorable Sean Douglas. The Privileges Committee is made up of Honorable Lakia Joseph, Honorable Darren Lloyd, Honorable Anthony Charles, and Honorable Laurie Victor, while the Standing Orders Committee is populated by Honorable Darren Pinard, Honorable Julian Defoe, Honorable Jesmer Paul Victor, and Honorable Sean Douglas. The Creator Parliamentary Oversight Committee comprises the Attorney General, Honorable Levi Peter, Honorable Dr. Irvin McIntyre, Honorable Roland Royer, Honorable Lauren Henderson Reid, and Honorable Delbert Paris. Parliament has been adjourned. Sine die. Honorable Speaker, welcome to the studios of the Government Information Service.
Yeah, well, thank you, Daryl, for inviting me. It's always a pleasure, interacting with you. Yes, and I would like to also take this opportunity to thank all the members of the Honorable House for unanimously electing me or re-electing me Speaker of the House of Assembly. A special thank you to the Honorable Prime Minister, who, at the second time again, nominated me. And a special thank you to all the members of the public who have encouraged me and always tell me to stay strong, you know. So I would just want to say a special thank you.
Mr. Speaker, if I am the privilege to call you Mr. Speaker, the first meeting, first session, 11th Parliament. This is the first meeting post the general elections. How would you describe this first meeting of Parliament?
I think it was a success, and I'll just take words from the other members, you know, of the Honourable House, that they thought that they were well prepared. I thought that it was very respectful. They showed restraint, and you could see they had I would say reasonable reasonable handle of the rules, and that was because we had a post parliamentary orientation workshop. So I think all in all, I think it was a good session, which showed that members were really focused on the matter on hand and the debate of the different bills, you know, and nothing personal. So that day, I think it was great.
You mentioned the orientation session. That was even more important given the number of new members of Parliament in this session.
Yes, because on January 18th, I mean, it was the first of its time ever that there was an orientation workshop itself. Usually, in the past, it would have a seminar, and it would most likely, well, before, what we had was an international type seminar, which we did in the 10th Parliament. Yes. This time around, we focus on bringing together local facilitators, you know, people with diverse experience, who impacted their knowledge to the new members. I think it helped significantly, especially the new members. A lot of times when members come, well, in the past, the experience, remember, as a member of the House, the experience is that you come to the House, but there are so many rules. There is something called the standing orders, and in the standing orders, that's the rule book of Parliament, the law of Parliament. There are 89 standing orders, and therefore, to bring members up to speed, we had to do this orientation workshop, and I think it was successful because you could actually see how they participated in Parliament, and also they were always minded of the rules, you know, and they were very restrained, although debating freely, but you could see measure of restraint.
You mentioned the rules. How important are the rules of Parliament to the functioning of the House?
Well, that really the rules of the House is everything. Everything. Just like if you are playing basketball or football, really and truly to get an effective or productive outcome, you must have an objective measure. And the objective measure, the yardstick, is really the rules. And that's what we call the standing orders. Yes. I would like to just take the opportunity here just to reflect on two rules. I took some notes on it, but because I wanted to just point it out. As I said, in the standing orders, we have 89 rules.
Yes.
I wanted to reflect on just standing order 44, which standing order 44 have 8 parts.
Okay.
But I'm going to just touch on just 2 parts. These are some of the more, I would say, most debated sections of the standing orders, which is, and I would say 44.4 says, it shall be out of order to use offensive and insulting or disrespectful language about members of the House or against the House of Assembly.
Okay.
The other one, that is 44.6, always a point of contention and debate, not in Dominica alone, but across the region, and maybe also in Commonwealth countries. 44.6 says, no member shall impute improper motives to any member of the House or indulge in personalities except on a substantive motion moved for the purpose.
What is imputing improper motives?
Imputing improper motive, just for the layman, just to understand it, is trying to say that somebody had bad intent in doing something.
Okay.
So if, for example, you are referring to, let's say, a member of the House, a parliamentarian, and you are saying that something happened, and it is because the member had a bad intent, that's why it happened in such a way.
Okay.
Because you would not know the intent of a member. So you would have to be restrained in how you're trying to phrase your statement or comment or your debate. You know, and that has always been a point of contention. And that's why we say that, and we call people honorable members. We expect people to behave honorable, you know, in an honorable way. You know, so this is always a point of contention. But if people are honorable, then they will restrain themselves and reduce getting involved in personalities just to score a point, you know.
When this happens, imputed improper motives, what does the Speaker have to do?
Well, the Speaker has a duty, because first of all, in the Honorable House, we say that you have almost like you have immunity. Well, not almost, you have immunity from being prosecuted by law.
Yes.
And that is why you have the rules, and that is why you have the presiding officer, the Speaker, who is going to guide members from those infringements. Just like in basketball or football, you have a referee, and the referee now cannot allow somebody to give bad tackle over and over. And if you see a member, a footballer is giving a bad tackle, or a basketballer is doing an infringement, you as the referee, and in the case of the House, you as the presiding officer, the chairman of the House, you're supposed to ensure that that doesn't happen. People cannot abuse their privilege.
Okay. Now, Mr. Speaker, what do you hope to accomplish in this new session of Parliament?
Well, we have a number of items that we are looking at. First of all, we have already embarked for some time now, but I think it's in the pipeline now, where we are trying to do an e-library. Okay. Also build the website for the legislature. We'll also look at ensuring that members of the House are exposed to more training, whether through virtual seminars or conferences or in-person seminars and conferences. We'll ensure that we can build the camaraderie within the legislature. And also, in regards to the administrative processes, we will work with the leader of the House, that's the Honorable Prime Minister, and the leader of opposition, to really move further and further and strengthen the independence of the legislature from the executive and from the judiciary. In regards to the legal, in terms of the legal aspect, we are completely independent. But in terms of some of the processes and the administration of the House, we need to improve in those areas there. Case in point, for example, there are members of the House, parliamentarians. If they are ministers, they do not get any specific remuneration for being a pal rep.
Yes.
This thing, I think, we need to deal with it.
So are you calling for a minister to still get the pal rep salary or an allowance to be a pal rep?
Yeah. The dynamics, I guess, the members of the House will have to actually determine what the details are. But for me, fundamentally, just morally speaking, I think it is not right. And that's something we need to look at. So if we focus on ensuring that the legislature is independent from the executive, I think you'll have a more effective governance system.
At the last session of Parliament, there was a move to have parliamentarians paid the day after they're elected or the day after they're appointed as senators. Has that taken effect?
Well, we reached where the resolution actually passed. But we had a little hurdle, a legal hurdle, where we have to change some of the language, the legal language. So it's at the desk of the Attorney General. So we have to fine tune it. And maybe as we are in the 11th Parliament, we might have to bring it back to just reapprove the resolution and move forward.
Because this was something that went before the Standing Orders Committee?
Yes, it went to the Standing Orders Committee.
So tell us about committees of the House. There are a few of them. Privileges, standing orders, there's one for Creed, there's broadcasting, and then, of course, there's the ever-important Public Accounts Committee.
Yes.
Tell us about this committee.
Yes. Okay. The Public Accounts Committee, for example, well, generally, and that's why we take the oath. We take the oath not just because we want to take the oath as just a symbol, but it's because we have to be working at committee level, and there are certain information that we're supposed to deal with. One, in secrecy. Number two, we have to treat it, as we say, without fear or favor.
Yes.
You know? So, for example, at the Public Accounts Committee, what is expected there is, after the government, that's the executive branch, that's cabinet, gets approval from Parliament, that's every year we have the budget address and the budget debate. So you have appropriation in terms of how much money you're going to get by ministry and by different lines. So once that is approved, the executive branch is expected to go ahead and implement. The legislature is supposed to monitor, and therefore we have an oversight committee, which is called the Public Accounts Committee. And that committee is not really involved in the policy of the government. It's not to question the policy. The question is, was the money spent for what it was supposed to be spent for? Okay. And if it was spent, what kind of value are we getting?
That's money approved by Parliament.
Yes, by Parliament.
Yes.
And that's why I said it is so important that the legislature be independent. And that is an example of where the legislature have oversight over the executive branch as to how the money was spent. Did we get value for money? The Privileges Committee, as I mentioned earlier, as I said, members of Parliament have the privilege to be able to as we say, speak freely without fear. But within that, you have a responsibility to ensure that you are doing things right, as per the rules. And therefore, if members are breaching their privilege, for example, consistently imputing improper motive or showing disrespect to the House, the chair, or members, they can be brought to the Privileges Committee. The Privileges Committee is like almost like the court of the House.
Okay.
Remember, the House is really the highest court of the land. But within that, our framers of the Constitution would want the peers of the legislature to be able to, I would say, sit on a ruling or adjudicate over the peers through the Privileges Committee.
Okay.
The Broadcast Committee is to really, again, guide on rules and procedures as to what to broadcast, how to broadcast, etc., etc. So, for example, like right now, in regards to the social media, we might have to look at the broadcast piece of legislation, that parliamentary broadcast piece of legislation, to look to see how social media, again, within that same ambit, Parliament always meet in Parliament, in the chamber.
Yes.
And not virtually.
No.
So all those things there.
I know there was moves to look at that during the COVID-19 pandemic. Yes.
During the COVID period.
But the rules for the House do not allow for meeting virtually.
No. I know in some territories, I think in Barbados, they changed one of their piece of legislation during COVID to ensure that people could vote virtually for certain bills. Yeah. And which other committee we mentioned?
Creed. There's Creed.
The Creed, yes. The Creed is really, again, an oversight committee to ensure that the actual Creed itself, the institution, is doing what it's supposed to do. And therefore, you have the legislative arm ensuring that that oversight is maintained. And they will be reporting, that's the Creed administration, like the CEO of Creed and the other administrative structure would report to this committee.
And then there's the Standing Orders.
And then the Standing Orders Committee, that's where we make the rules, we amend the rules, we adjust the rules.
That's the rules of the House.
Remember the rules of the House. That's why we call it the Standing Orders. You know?
Now, the Speaker's role. Is the Speaker's role limited to just presiding over meetings of Parliament? When the Speaker is out of the chair and the House has been adjourned sine die, is that where the Speaker's job ends?
No. As a matter of fact, in Standing Order 86.2, it says that the Speaker shall be responsible for the management and general administrating of the House. Whether House of Assembly is actually, the session is on. So, for example, the Speaker, as I just pointed out, the Speaker is the chairman of many of the different committees. For example, the Boundaries Commission, the Speaker is the chairperson.
Which boundary? The Electoral Boundaries Commission.
Boundaries Commission.
Yes.
The Speaker is the chairperson of this commission. Also, as I said, the Privileges Committee, the Standing Orders Committee, the Broadcast Committee, the Speaker is the chairperson of these committees. Also, the Speaker represents the Parliament
Yes.
in international fora or meetings, regional international fora or meetings. Because as the Speaker is really the presiding officer who represents both sides of the House, the minority or the majority side. In our context, we say the government side and the opposition side.
Now, what is the Speaker's relationship with both sides of the House as we speak?
Well, camaraderie, as we speak now, I think it is okay, it's good. You know? You see, as a person, you always have to come in any job that you are given with a clear heart. And that's why you take the oath again.
Yes.
Without fear or favor. Ill will. No ill will. So if you come without any ill will, then you can objectively do your job. And then relationship is a dynamic process, you know? It's a give and take, you know, it's a balance.
Yes.
And therefore, for example, I've tried my best there again to work with both sides in the 10th Parliament. I mean, we know some of the hiccups we had, but even in the 11th Parliament, again, I think we started on a good footing. You know, I think all the members on both sides, they didn't come with any past baggage that would cloud up their objectivity. You know, I had the opportunity, and I would invite you and members of the public to look at the Hansard. When I look at the Hansard, the Hansard is really a book that actually records verbatim what happened in the House. And I look at all my rulings, went through them, you know, and I see the objectivity in the rulings, you know, and I see even, and the Prime Minister pointed it out, there are instances in where the Speaker, the Speaker did not have the sole authority to take certain action, and I try to take those actions in the favor of the opposition.
Okay.
You know, because again, bearing in mind that they are the minority side, and the numbers, the government side have a significantly more members. So I tried my best to see how I could help, even if the rules, you know, I bend the rules to help them, but again, they could not even see it. They could not see it, but my hope is this time around in the 11th Parliament, the public and also the members, especially the members, will see my objectivity.
Now, Mr. Speaker, we do not have a lot of time left, but one area I wanted to ask you about is the area of language in the Parliament. And when I say language, I'm referring to French, English, Creole. Now, at the last sitting of Parliament, the Member of Parliament for the Granby constituency, that's Honorable Dr. Vince Henderson, he made a statement in Creole, and he was asked to translate. He said he would prefer to withdraw because he feels that he should be able to speak Creole freely in the House. What is the situation as we speak in speaking Creole in the Parliament, and are there plans to change this?
Well, the situation is that in the House, you can only speak formally English,
Okay.
According to the rules. And according to the rules, if you speak a different language, you have to interpret. I think this is retrogressive. And I think there's the support of the leader of the House with the Prime Minister and the opposition leader. So I think that's on our future agenda, very near future. I think we should be pushing it. I don't think we'll get any opposition, you know, or resistance to actually pushing it and ensuring that members of the House can speak Creole language freely. You know, I think again on the agenda of the Standing Orders Committee, that will be one item that we will bring as soon as possible, maybe at our first sitting.
Walk us through how this has to be changed, because now you're saying that you can only speak English in the House. Any other language you use, you have to interpret, you have to translate. Walk us through how this has to be changed.
But remember, again, I said everything comes back to
Rules.
rules.
Yeah.
So we have to go back to the standing orders. And within the standing orders, we'll make an amendment to the rule that refer to the language.
The whole House or the Standing Orders Committee?
The Standing Orders Committee first. So the Standing Orders Committee, it could happen both ways. Either one side of the House, which for example the government side, could bring an amendment to the House for approval.
Yes.
Or the Standing Orders Committee can meet and make recommendations to the House and present a report to the House with suggested amendment, and the House can adopt the report and or the amendment suggested by the Standing Orders.
Okay.
So we could do it either way. But it would be better to bring it to the Standing Orders Committee, at least to just follow the rules, so that we can do things properly. You know?
Would you be wanting to do that, Speaker?
Yes, but I'm the chairman of the Standing Orders Committee, and I'm suggesting to you that I think at our first meeting it will be brought up.
Yes.
In a formal way.
And then you think within this session that we may
yes,
see that
definitely.
Creole be able to be spoken in the...
Because there is the support already. The Prime Minister have said it, members of the government side have said it, members on the opposition side for many years. Even when I was in the House as a proponent for it, you know. So when I was the parliamentary representative, that is, because now I'm still in the House, you know.
Yeah.
So I see no problem with it. I think it is a progressive step, and also is a step to reflect our culture. You know, I think we as Kalinago people, you know, we need to really, really appreciate our culture, you know, and take more pride in our culture. And I think we have to lead from the top, you know. And I think that'd be, well, we have already started leading. We have done a lot of things in Dominica that I think we as a people can be proud of. But that is one example in which I think it will show we have unity and we are progressive in terms of our culture.
Not much time left. Just wanted to ask you, do you think you, having served both on the opposition and on the government side of the House, has made you more prepared to be Speaker of the House?
Yes, I think so. I think so, because it has made me be very, very sensitive to the plight of the opposition side, the minority side, you know, and also because I serve on the government side, I also know what really is required, you know. So I have a better view of the dynamics on both sides, and therefore I'm sensitive to both sides. A lot of people think the job is easy, but this is one of the few jobs in the world where, while you are actually making a decision or ruling on a matter, you are being looked at live across the world. But you have to make a decision. You cannot call a friend for an opinion. So a judge in the court can call
seek
a
legal
friend, seek legal opinion, etc. But you have to make those decisions there. So you cannot really be sleeping. You have to be sharp, alert, you know. So it's an exciting job, but it's also a job challenging. But people like Madam Speaker, myself, and other speakers make it look easier than it is.
Thank you very much, Honorable Joseph Isaac, for joining us here, our first guest on the new season of In the Studio. We hopefully will be able to invite the Honorable Speaker to join us again and again, and probably the next time we'll get him to bring along the clerk, who has a very important job in the House of Assembly as well. So until next time, thank you, and do come back to join us in the studio.